Alright, Texas National Resource Code, Title 3, Oil and Gas, Subtitle B, Conservation Regulation of Oil and Gas, Chapter 85, Conservation Oil and Gas, Subchapter A, General Provision 85001, Definitions, Chapter Commission meaning of the Railroad Commission of Texas. Pool means common pool field or common source of supply means a common reservoir. Pool means underground reservoir containing a connected accumulation of crude, petroleum, oil, natural gas, or both, product of oil and gas, made with a commodity thing that made with the manufacture from oil and gas, or derivatives of byproducts of oil and gas, including refined crude oil, crude tops, top cruded, processed crude petroleum residue from crude petroleum cracking stock, uncracked fuel oil, traded cryoted oil, fuel oil residue, gas oil, naphtha, distillated gasoline, kerosene, benzene, wash oil, waste oil, lubricating oil, casing head gasoline, blended gasoline, blends of the oil or mixture oil or mixed gas, any derivatives or byproducts of them. Alright, oil means crude petroleum oil, crude oil, gas means the natural gas. The term should not be construed with a referring substance different from those referred to in this chapter. Other laws of the oil and gas, these terms mean the same whether used in chapter and other laws relating to the Conservation Oil and Gas Act 1977. Section 85002, Antitrust Monopoly Statutes. The provision of the chapter will therefore formally in part with the Chapter 26 Acts of the 42nd Legislature, first called session 1931 is amended. Chapter 2 Acts of the 42nd Legislature, fourth called session 1932 is amended. In Chapter 76 General Laws Acts of the 44th Legislative regular session 1935 is amended. Do not affect the altered, diminish, change, modify antitrust monopoly laws of the state. Do not directly, indirectly authorize violation of the antitrust monopoly laws of the state. It is legislative intent with the no provision chapter of the formerly part of the Chapter 26 Acts of the 42nd Legislature, first called session 1931 is amended with the Chapter 2 Acts of the 42nd Legislature, fourth called session 1932 is amended, or Chapter 76 General Laws Acts of the 44th Legislative regular session 1935 is amended, shall affect with the altered, diminish, or amend any of the manner of the provision of the antitrust monopoly laws of this state or authorized violation of antitrust monopoly laws. Legislator intent expressed with the subsection shall prevail and take precedence over the section cited in the subsection, regardless of any statement in the section contrary. See if the provision is chapter formerly part of the Chapter 26 Acts of the 42nd Legislature, first called session 1931 is amended in Chapter 2 Acts of the 42nd Legislature, fourth called session 1932 is amended in Chapter 76 General Laws Acts of the 44th Legislative regular session 1935 is amended with the construed by a court of the state in a manner that will effectively alter, diminish, or modify any of the provision antitrust monopoly laws for the state. This provision in which is conflict with the declared null, void, rather than the Antitrust Monopoly Laws Act 1977. Subchapter B, Administrator Provisions 85011, Supervisor, Deputy Supervisor, Umpires. The Commission shall employ with all supervisors, deputy supervisors, umpires necessary to carry out the provision of this chapter or other related laws, rules, or order of the Commission Act 1977. 85012, Assistance Clerical Help. The Commission shall employ with the assistant clerical help necessary to carry out other provisions of the chapter, other related laws, rules, and orders of the Commission in 1977. Section 85013, Persons enforcing rules or orders. A person entrusted with the enforcement of rules and orders of the Commission shall be regular employee of the state, paid by the state. No person other than regular employee of the state may be charged with or relied on for performance of the duties. Act 1977. Subchapter C, provisions generally applicable to this conservation of oil and gas. 85041, acts prohibited violation of laws, rules, orders, purchase, acquisition, or sale over the transportation, refining, process, handling, and any other way of the oil or gas produced in a whole and part with the violation of any of the oil and gas conservation statute of the state, of any rule and order of the Commission under such statute is prohibited. B, the purchase, acquisition, or sale for the transportation, refining, process, for the handling, in any other way with any of the product, oil, gas, derived in a whole part of the oil and gas product, either with a whole part of the produced, purchased, acquired, sold, transported, refined, processed, handled in any other way with violation of any of the oil of the gas conservation statute of the state, or any other rule or order of the Commission under the statutes prohibited. Act 1977. Section 85042, rules and order of the Commission may promulgate and enforce rules or orders necessary to carry out into effect with the provision 85041. This code to prevent section violation. B. When necessary, the Commission shall make for the enforced rule with generally with the nature applicable for the particular field for the prevention for the actual waste for the oil operation field dangerous to the life and property Act 1977. Section 85043. The application of the certain rules and orders. If the Commission requires the showing of the refined products we manufacture the oil legally produced, the requirement shall be for the uniform application throughout the chain, provided that if the rule and order of the promulgated for the purpose of controlling a condition in any local area preventing of the violation any local of the area of the complaint of the person with the same and similar condition exists in the same some of the other local areas the propagation of the enforcement of the rule can be beneficially applied to the additional area of the Commission may determine whether or not conditions do exist, and if it was shown that they do, and the rule other orders may be enlarged, including the additional area Acts 1970 amended in the 2005. Section 85044, exemption purchases. The provisions of Section 85041 and 043, this code does not apply with the purchase product of the oil made by ultimate consumer from the retail distributor of the product Act of 1977. Section 85045, waste illegal and prohibited the production, storage, transportation of oil and gas in a manner and amount with the under the condition with the constitute waste is unlawful and is prohibited Act 1977. 85046, waste. The term waste, among other things, specially includes the operation of oil well with the wells within the inefficient gas oil ratio of the Commission may determine with the prescribed the ordered permitted gas oil ratio of the operation of oil wells. 2. Drowning with the water trading with the part of the trading with the capable of reducing oil and gas, but with the paying quantities underground waste or loss. However, the cause of the not cause of the underground waste loss defined in the section permitting a natural gas well to burn wastefully certain creation of unnecessary fire hazards. 6. Physical waste loss incident result of the drilling equipment locating the spacing with the operating of the well in the manner of the produce of the tends of the reduce the total ultimate recovery of the oil and gas from any of the pool. 7. The waste loss incident resulting from the unnecessary, inefficient, excessive, improper use of the reserve energy, including with the gas energy of the water drive any of the well or of the pool help. However, this is not intended with the section or the provision of chapter formerly part with Chapter 26 Acts of the 42nd Legislature of the first called session 1931 is amended to require repressuring of the oil pool to require that the separately owned property within any of the pool of the unit that ties under one of the management, control, and ownership. Surface waste, and surface loss include the temporary permanent storage of the oil and placing of any of the product oil in an open pit for the earth and storage. Other forms of surface waste and surface loss, including unnecessary excessive source, surface loss for the destruction without beneficial use either for the oil and gas. 9. Escape of the gas opening with the decks, air excessive of the mud. Not necessary efficient drilling of the operation well with the well producing oil and gas. 10. Production of oil excessive of the transportation market facility with the reasonable market demand with the Commission may determine with excessive of the production exists for the eminent with the exertion of the reasonable market demand. And 11. The surface and subsurface waste with the hydrocarbons including physical and economical waste loss of the hydrocarbons and creation, operation, maintenance, and abandonment of underground hydrocarbon storage facility. B. Notwithstanding with the provisions contained within this section elsewhere within this code with the other statute of the law of the Commission may permit with the production with the commingling of oil and gas with the gas multiple stratigraphic and lenticular accumulation of oil, and gas wherever the Commission after the notice of the opportunity of the hearing found with the producing oil and gas commingled to state where the prevent waste and promote with the conservation protect the collective rights. 2. The Commission, after the notice of the opportunity for the hearing, may permit surface of the commingling with the produce of the oil and gas from 2 or more tracts of the lands producing from the same reservoir from one or more tracts of the land producing from different reservoirs, and the Commission finally for the commingling will prevent waste, promote with the conservation, protect for the court of the rights. The Commission may permit with the commingling regardless of the whether the tract for the Commission designated reservoirs have same working royalty interest of the ownership of the amount of the production attributed to each of the tract for the Commission designated for the reservoir shall determine in a manner consistent with the title of the Commission has brought in discretion with the administering with this subsection shall adopt and enforce the rule of the orders necessary to administer with the subsection Acts 1977. Section 85047, exclusion from the definition of waste. The use for the gas produced with the oil well with the permitted with the gas oil ratio for the manufacture of the natural gasoline shall not be included in the definition of waste. Acts 1977. Section 85048, Authority Limited Protection. Under the provision section subsection 10 of the section 85046 of this code, the Commission shall not restrict the production of oil for the aim of the new field brought into the production by exploration until the total for the production of the field is 10,000 barrels of oil a day, and the aggregated of the Commission authority for the restrict the production from the new field for the other provisions section 85046 of the code is not limited to this section. Acts 1977. 85049, hearing on verified complaint with any of the person interested in the subject matter of the waste for the oil and gas taking place for the trade with a reasonable intent on its own with the legislative initiative of the Commission after proper notice of may hold the hearing to determine whether or not the waste for the taking place for the reasonably with the imminent with the if any of the rule order shall be adopted or if any other action should be taken to correct prevent the less than the waste be the hearing shall be held at any time and place determined by the Commission. Acts 1977. 85050. Procedure for the hearing. Hearing interested parties shall be entitled to be heard and introduced, and evidence required for the attendance of witness. The production of the evidence may be required as provided by law. Acts 1977. 85051, adoption of rule and order. If the Commission finds the hearing of the waste taken place for the reasonable eminent with the shall adopt the rule and order provided by the laws and considered reasonably required to correct the prevent and lessening of the waste. Acts 1977. 85052, compliance with the rule and order from and after the promulgation of rule and order of the Commission is and for the duty of each of the person affected with the rule and order to comply with. Acts 1977. Section 85053, distribution, proration, and appointment of the lawful production. A. If the rule order Commission limits the fixture of the pool portion of the pool for the production of the oil for the production of the gas from the wells producing the gas only, if the Commission written complying with the effect of the party on its own with the initiative of the afternoon of the opportunity of the hearing shall be distributed prorate with the or otherwise appropriation portion or allocate for the allowable production among the various producers of the reasonable basis of the Commission finds and acts for the necessary to 1. Prevent waste, 2. Adjust for the corrective of the rights of the opportunities each for the owner and oil gas common reservoir to produce use of the sale of the oil gas permitted in this chapter. When it's provided in subsection B of the section 85046 or subsection B of the section 86012 for the code for the suspended for the Commission for the permitted for the production of the commingling of oil or gas with the oil gas multiplied with the stratigraphic and lenticular communication and illuminations of oil or gas and gas Commission may be distributed appropriate operation allocation production with the such commingled in separate multiple stratigraphic lenticular accumulations of oil and gas or oil gas as if they were a single pool and provided however that one such commingling shall not cause the allocation allowable to production from the well producing with a separate with accumulation or accumulation to be less than which would result with the Commission applying with the provision selection 85095 of the scope of the accumulation of or accumulations and to the allocation allowable for such for the commingled production shall be based not less than the 2 factors of the Railroad Commission shall be taken into account with the directive in section 86089 of this code. Acts 1977, amended by Acts 2005. 85054 with the allowable production of the oil with to prevent with the unreasonable discrimination in favor of the one pool with one pool with this against with another or and unwritten complaint or proof of the such for the discrimination or if the next Commission with an initiative to find such action for the necessary for the Commission may allocate with the portion with the allowable production with the oil favor with a reasonable basis among the various pools in the state. And allocating assertion with a reasonable market of the demand with the entire state of the reasonable market of demand of one of the pools shall not be discriminated against with the favor of another pool. C. With the Commission with the may determine the reasonable market of the demand with the respective pool with the base of the determinant allotment is to be assigned with the respective pool so that the discrimination may prevent it. Acts 1977, amended in 2005. 85055, allowable production of gas. If in line with the written complaint effective of the party of its own initiative, the afternoon of the opportunity for the hearing of the Commission finds the full production for the wells producing gas only with the common supports of the supplies of the gas with the state with excess for the reasonable market demand with the Commission shall inquire with the production reasonable market demand for the gas with the shall determine with the allowable production with the common source of supply with the allowable production from prorated common source of the supply with a portion reasonable market of the demand that was written without waste. The Commission shall allocate and distribute a portion of the allowable production prorated for the common source of supply among the various producers for the reasonable base for the shall limit for the production each for the producer to the amount allocated a portion as to the producer. D. When it's provided in subsection B of the section 85046 and subsection B of the section 86012. The scope is amended for the Commission with the permitted for the production with the oil or gas, for the oil to gas, multiple strategic lenticular accumulation of oil, the gas, oil, and gas. The Commission may allocate with the distributed proportion of the production such commingling separate with the multiple stratigraphic lenticular accumulation of oil, gas, if they were singly common source of the supply provided here However, that such commitment should not cover the allocation allowable to production of the well producing separate of the accumulations levied less than which would result with the Commission applying with the provision section 86095 of this code of the accumulation of the act or accumulations. The allocation allowable for the commingled production, which shall be based not less than two factors, with the Railroad Commission shall take into account with the directive in section 86089 of this code, Acts 1977, amended 2005, section 85056, public interest administrative for the provision of chapter 2, Acts of the 42nd Legislature, fourth called section 1932, is amended with the Commission shall take into consideration protect the rights of the interest purchasing, commingling, consuming the public in oil and in all products of the such with gasoline, lubricating oil, 1977. Section 85057 of the restricted unexplored territory of the provisions chapter that was formerly chapter 2 of the Acts of the 42nd Legislature, fourth called section 1932, is amended shall not be construed with the grant of the Commission with any authority to restrict or in any manner the drilling of the wells to explore for the oil and gas both in territory that is not to produce either oil or gas, Acts 1977, and section 85058 of the Commission inquire determination from the time to time. The Commission may inquire over the production, storage, transportation, refining, reclaiming, the treating of the marketing, and producing the oil and gas from reasonable market demand for the oil and gas. Such may determine whether or not the water waste exists and amend whether the oil and gas conservation law of the state of the rules orders of the Commission promulgated under those laws are violated. Acts 1977 amended within Acts 2005, 85059 records. Each person who produces the store of the transport, refine, reclaim, treats, markets or process the oil and gas products. Each of them shall keep the state with the accurate records of the amount of the oil and gas shall produce, stored, transported, refined, reclaimed, heated, marketed, processed, or other source from which the person produced the obtained with the received the oil and gas of the product, either of the disposition made with the Acts 1977. Section 85060, sworn statement is a report with the Commission may require that the person produce the storage, the transport, refine, the reclaimed, treats, market for the possession of oil and gas of the products, or either to make it a fair file with the Commission with his sworn statements or the reports of the facts of the knowledge, possession, pertaining to the reasonable market for the oil, to production, storage, transportation, refining, reclaiming, treating, marketing, processing oil, gas products, either with the rules shall include with the facts enumerated with the section 85059 of this code, Acts 1977, 85061, inspection, gauging with the Commission may require any well with the least a refinery plant with a tank of the storage pipeline with a gathering line that belongs to or is under the control of the person produced for the storage, transport, refines, claim, treat, market, process, oil, gas, or products are of either to be inspected, gauge made by the agents of the Commission, whether ever as often for such of the periods Commission considers necessary. Acts 1977. Or section 8562, examination books and record of the Commission with its agents, Attorney General, with the assistance of the representative may examine the records of a person produced for the storage of the transport, refunds, reclaim of the trees for the market, the production of the oil or gas products for the eve of the often considered necessary for the purpose of determining the facts of the continuing matters of the covered in section 85058 and 80 through 85061 of this code, Acts of 1977. Section 8563, violation of the corporation, with the failure of the corporation charged with the law of the state, with the comply with the provisions section 8559 and 8562 of this code, with the keep the record of the section 8559 of this code in the state, with the refusal of the permanent officer for the designated in section 8562 of the code, with the inspect with examine the records required by section 8559 in this code shall constitute the grounds for the forfeiture of the corporation charter's right, with the privilege of dissolution of the corporation's existence, failure of the foreign corporation to comply with the provisions section 8559 through 8562 of this code, to the cap of the records required in section 85059 of this code in this state, of the refusal permit officer for the designated in section 85062 of the code, for the inspector to examine the records required in section 85059. This code shall be grounded with the enjoining and forever prohibiting such corporation from doing business in the state. Acts 1977. Section 85064 of the Acts of Action Against Corporation. A, if he determines that the public interest requires its Attorney General shall institute a suit with the appropriate action with the tribe of the county for the forfeiture charge of the right with the domestic corporation. J, enjoy foreign corporation for doing business in the state with the corporation is deemed guilty with a violation provision section 85059 through 8562 of the code. Attorney General may take the action with their own motion without leave of the order of any of the judges of the court. B, on judgment against the defendant, the violation provision section 85059 through 85062 of the code of the court may be judgment. Public interest requires it. Forfeiture of the charter rights of the defendant, domestic corporation, enjoining the defendant foreign corporation from doing business in the state. Acts 1977. Section 85065, informal complaint process regardless of the inability to account for natural gas gathered and transported. Or the producer may submit with the written request for the person with the gap of the transport gap of the producer for the explanation of any left of the inability of the count of the gas stream for the person of the producer the request may ask for the person to provide any of the all of the information would be required to be included with the accounting within subsection C with no later than the 30 day after the day of the reason person received the request for the producer for the person may provide with the producer for the right and explanation any love of the inability to account with the gas stream with the person by a producer the reasonable must include with the relevant information required by the producer the inavailable and is available to the person that would be required to include with the accountable under subsection C. If the producer submitted the request of subsection A of the person who gathered the transport gas to the producer, the person provided the inadequate explanation, any of the loss of the inability of the account for the gas, or the failed to provide explanation of the loss and inability to account for the gas may be determined to provide with the subsection producer may file with the commission an informal complaint against the person, and an informal complaint must be filed within 30 days after the end of the production period covered by the complaint, with the informal complaint must specify the production period covered by the complaint, see if at least 30 days have elapsed since the end of the production covered by the complaint. Within 3, if the producer meter of the volume of the gas tank of the person gathered transportation with the gas A described the type of the meter used to be, see if the date of the meter was last calibrated, C no later than the 14th day after the date of the complaint with the file with the person with the gather the transport of gas shall provide with the producer for the commission on the accounting for the gas tank with the person with the producer for the gather and transport during the production period covered with the complaint with accumulating the counting of the may provide with 1,000 cubic or million British thermal unit base if it is applicable the must include with the information with the commission determined to be necessary to resolve the informal complaint within the section which include with the bound with the gas tank with the producer for each well with this meter laboratory and L for the composition heating value of the gas of the substance with the tender for the producer and such analysis to be formed if available schematic drawing with the person system gathering of the transporting gas show for each for the meter type of the day of each meter was last calibrated accuracy of each meter, and D, all equipment and alters that disposed of the otherwise consume of the gas tank of the person for the estimated amount of the gas under the fuel, flared or vented with the construed with the repair, maintenance, or of the operational use of the information available, the location of the use. 5. Estimated amount of the contaminants for the other impurities removed with the gap of the location at which the impurities were removed with the SB. 6. The estimated amount of the limited hydrocarbon condensate with the removed for the gas location at which the liquid hydrocarbon condensate was removed. Estimated amount of the gas loss for the location at which the gas was lost. And 8. Estimated of the gas for the redelivered person, including the amount of the gas hole allocated with the producer for the location when the redelivery of the gas occurred. 9. The amount of the gas received by the producer by the person remains unaccounted for. And 10. Any of the information for the person who gathered for the transport gas consider the relevant with the resolution with the complaint. D. The commission may grant with the extension of the time of the person who gathered the transport of the gas to provide with the counting required in subsection C, with the extension of the may not permit the counting provided with later in the tab and later than 45 the day after the day of the informal complaint was filed. But if the person gathered the transport of the gas does not have information necessary to provide an accounting with the required subsection C, the person must provide with the producer and to the commission written explanation of the reason where the person does not have the information. 5. If the person who gathered the transport of the gas failed to provide accounting required with the subsection C or with the explanation required in subsection E, informal complaint filed with the producer is considered to be valid. G. If subsection F is applied with the commission determines if the person gathered the transport of the gas committed waste, the commission may take an action for the considered appropriate to include issuing an order formal proceeding of the prevent waste from the person gathered the transport of the gas. H. For the subsection applied with only to producers and a person who gathered the transport of the producer of the gas of the producer the under contract between the producer the person and the into the renewed on or after September 1st, 2007. Written request of the producer entitled with the auto audit of the books and the records of the person pertaining to the contract between the producer and the person for the purpose of verifying whether the gas attendant to the person by the producer for the person that has law with unable to account for the men or the allocated volume of the gas tank with the person with the producer the required with the contractor producer is not entitled to conduct an audit under the subsection more frequently annually Acts 2007. 7. Subchapter D. Marginal wells. 85.121 definition. In this subchapter, marginal wells means only oil well within capable of producing maximum capacity oil, except for the bi-pumping gas lift, the other means for the artificial lift, which will be equipped with capable under the normal unrestricted operation condition of producing such daily quantities of soil. With the provided with the subchapter, this must with the damage result of the loss of the production ultimately recover the cost of the premature abandonment of the well if the maximum daily production was artificially curtailed. P. As used in subsection A of the section 85.121, section 85.122, but this code gas lift means gas lift that by uses gas not in solution with the oil produced. 85.122. Alright, wells consider the marginal well with the wells that are considered the general marginal well that include oil well within this state within capable of producing the maximum well that capacity for the oil except for the pumping gas for the other means artificial lift having one reproved well produced for the depths of the 2,000 feet or live with the maximum daily capacity production of the 10,000 barrels left the average preceding 10 to the consecutive day for the table life of the production 2 when the produced for the horizontal deeper than 2,000 feet less than 40 in depth of less than 4,000 feet the maximum daily capacity for the production of the 20 barrels or less average over the preceding to the consecutive days of the stabilized production. 3. When the produced for the horizontal deeper than 4,000 feet, but less than deeper than 6,000 feet, the maximum daily capacity production of 25 barrels or less of the average over the preceding of the consecutive days stabilized production. 4. When the produced for the horizon deeper than 6,000 feet, but less than the deeper than 8,000 feet, the maximum daily capacity for the production of 30 barrels or less the average over the preceding of the 10 consecutive days stabilized production. Or 5. When producing the horizontal deeper than 8,000 feet, with the maximum daily capacity for the production of 35 barrels or less the average preceding with the 10 consecutive days stabilized with the production. X 1977 and 85-123 the containment. Curtail marginal well production's waste. Artificially curtail the production of the marginal well below with the marginal limit as set out in section 85-121 through 85-122 for the scope of the marginal wells. Ultimate plugging and abandonment is declared to be waste. Acts 1977. Section 85-124 Rules and Orders Restriction Marginal Well. With no rule order, the Convention, any other construed legal authority shall have adopted requiring the restriction of the production of marginal well. 85-125 The effect of the other subchapter is none of the provision of the chapter was formerly part of the Chapter 26 Acts of 42nd Legislature, first called Section 1931 as amended with the Chapter 2 of the Acts of 42nd Legislature, fourth called Section 1932 as amended in Chapter 76 of the General Laws Acts of the 44th Legislature of the regular session 1935 as amended with the authorized may be construed the limit to modify with the repeal the provision of the Subchapter Acts 1977. Alright, Subchapter F. Rules and Orders of the Commission. 85-201. Adoption of the rules and order of the Commission shall make for the enforce the rules and orders of the Conservation, Oil and Gas Preservation, Waste and Oil Gas Acts 1977. Section 85-202. For the purpose of the rules or of the rules and orders of the Commission shall include the rules or of the prevent waste as defined in Section 85-046 of the scope of the oil, gas drilling and produce for the operation of the storage, piping, distribution of oil, gas. 2. To require dry abandoned wells to be plugged in a manner with the confined oil and gas water in the strata with which they are found to prevent them from escaping into other strata of the drilling of the well, with the preserving the record of the drilling of the wells, to recover the wells of the drilled and operated in a manner to prevent injury in adjoining property. Prevent oil and gas waters escaping from the strata in which they are found, and otherwise strata to provide rules for shooting wells and for separating oil from gas. 7. To require records of the captive reports made, and 8. To provide issuance of the permit intended for the other evidence permission with the issuance of the permit intended for the permission necessary for the incident for the enforcement of the Commission rules and orders of the prevent waste. B. That the Commission shall do all of the following necessary for the conservation, oil, gas, preservation, waste, and oil, gas, if they may adopt the other rules or orders as necessary for their purpose. Acts 1977, Section 85-2021, drilling permit fee, which each of the application materially amended for the application permit for the drill, the deepening, plug back, with the re-entering of the well of the application shall submit to the Commission with a non-refundable fee, $200 total depth of the well of 2,000 feet or less, $225 equal to 4,000 less than or equal to 4,250 total depth of the well is greater than 4,000 feet but less or equal to 9,000 feet, $300 total depth of the well is greater than 9,000 feet. Application shall submit with additional refundable fee with the $200 rules to 387 and spacing with Rule 38 density examination review is required. Application shall submit with additional non-refundable fee with the $150 required for the Commission expedited with the application permit, the drill, for the deepening of the pullback of the re-entering of the well. All fees are collected within the section shall deprive of the Oil Gas Regulation Cleanup Fund Acts as amended in 1983, Acts added in 1983, and Acts amended in 2011. Section 85-203, consideration adopting rules and orders of the prevent waste. The Commission may consider all of the definition waste stated in Section 85-046 of the code whenever the fact that the circumstance of the condition make for them applicable adopting rule for the order to prevent waste for the Oil or Gas Acts 1977. 85-204, prohibited rules and order of the Commission is not authorized to adopt the rules or orders of the make for the determination holding that any of the mode, manner, and process of the refining oil constitute of the waste 1977. 85-205 of the notice of the hearing. No rule order pertaining to the conservation oil of the gas preservation waste of the oil gas may be adopted by the Commission except for the after the notice hearing of the provided by law. Act 1977, Section 85-206, emergency order. If the commission find that the emergency exists, if the commission judgment require the adoption order without giving the notice for the holding of the hearing with the emergency order made adopted shall be valid as though the notice has been given the hearing held. The emergency of the order shall remain in force no longer than the 15th day of the effective date. C. The emergency order shall expire within an event of the time order relating to the subject matter adopted after the proper notice and hearing become effective. Acts 1977. Section 85-207, the effective amendment of the repeal of the expiration of the rule and order. The amendment of the repeal of the expiration rule and order of the commission adopted the provision of the chapter of the formally of the chapter 76 of the General Laws Act of the 44th Legislative Regular Section 190-30-35 as amended over the provision of Title 102 of the Revised Civil Statute of the Texas 1925. This amendment included provision of this rule of the formula included with the title of the shall not affect the releasing of the discharge of the liability, penalty, forfeiture, or any of the person filing rule order before effective date with amendment of repeal of the expiration, prosecution, and suits for the violation, liability, penalties, and forfeiture shall be instituted, proceeded with all the respect of the rule order had not been amended with the repeal had not been expired. Acts 1977. Subchapter G, suits challenging the validity of laws and order. 85-241, suits interested person affected by the conservation law of the state of the orders of the commission relating to the oil and gas of the waste oil of the gas as satisfied with any of these laws or orders may file suit against the commission and members of the court of the competent jurisdiction of Travis County to test validity of the law and order. Acts 1977. Section 85-242, expeditious trial of the suit brought under the section 85-241 of this code shall advance for the trial shall be determined expeditious possible, no postponement. The continuance shall be granted except for the reason for the conservative imperative of the court. Acts 1977. Section 85-243, burden of proof in the trial of the suit with the brought under 241 of this code. The burden of the proof shall party in complying with the law and order of the law ordered deemed prima facie valid. Act of 1977. Section 85-244, condition of the injunctive relief and no temporary restraining order of the temporary permanent with injunction over the informed injunctive of the relief of the granted against for the commission of the member for the agent with the representative of the restraint with over them and enforcement of the rule order adapted over the commission over the oil and gas reservation conservation law of the state with from the enforcing of the law with unless for the notice of the given into the commission with the hearing is held with the provided in subchapter. Acts 1977. Section 85-245, notice of the commission at any time of the petition application of the child with the requesting of the temporary restraining order of the form of the temporary injunction of the relief of the clerk of the court within which petition of the application is filed with the child issue for the notice of the writing of the commission. The notice shall include with the docket number of the child with the case of the brief of its nature of the suit. And the notice shall be served with the commission with the Travis County with the delivering a copy of the situation, a citation with the to the commission with the member of the commission, secretary of the commission for the service over the other citation. Indeed, 5 days after the citation has been served, the hearing may be held on the position of the application. Section 85-246, the intervention of the suit, discretion of the court with any person interested in the subject matter of the suit to the intervene. Section 85-247, rules of order, prima facie of the validity of the rule order of the complained in this of the officer of the prima facie of the valid view of the introduction verified of the petition of the plaintiff then shall be not sufficient to overcome the prima facie validity of the rule for the order authorized of the court to grant with the injunction relief against the enforcement of the rule and order. Acts 1977. Alright, Section 85-248, bond. Before any order granting an injunction for the relief against the oil and gas conservation rule and order of the commission become effective, the plaintiff shall be required by the court to execute a bond with a good and sufficient rate and sureties within reasonable sufficient amount determined by the court to identify with any of the person court may find with the facts of the proven will with the suffer damage of the result of the violation of the law of the rule and order of the question the person shall be named in order of the judge at the time and amount of the bond is fixed when the court will enter into the record. Acts 1977. Or Section 85-249, condition of the bond with the termination amount of the bond, the judge shall consider all facts, circumstances surrounding the party with the ability to the plaintiff to make of the bond, and judge and can determine the amount and reasonableness of the bond under the facts of the circumstances of the B with the bond made with the execute with the bonding with the surety of the company shall be the company authorized to do so in business in Texas. See that the bond shall be approved of the judge and shall be for you for the benefit that may be sued with any of the person named with the order to suffer the damage for the result violation of the Law and Rule and Order Act 1977, Section 85, 250, the changing of the amount of the parties and sureties. I am of the motion with a good cause shown after a note of the party of the court periodically may increase the degree of the amount of the bond, add new beneficiaries, require the new additional sureties for the fact that they may testify in Jackson 1977. 85, 251, suits on the bond. The suit on the bond must be made instituted within 6 months of the date of the final determination of validity of the whole and the partial of the rule of the Order Act 1977. 85, 252, inadmissible evidence of the finding of the by the court with any of the partly likely suffer the damage is not admissible as of the evidence of the damage in suit bond, Acts 1977, 85, 253, appeal after the notice of the hearing on the applicant injunction of the relief, either party to suit with entitled with the appeal of the judgment on the granting of the refusing with the temporary restraining order of the temporary or permanent injunction, or the form of injunction of relief of the granting overruling of the motion to dissolve of the temporary restriction order temporary of the permanent injunction or other form of injunction of relief of Acts 1977. Section 85, 254 of the appeal has a precedent if the appeal is returnable to ones for the appellated appeal court over the actions appeal with the shall be unprecedented with the appeal court with the overcomes all case of the proceeding called with the different card charter with the our pending Act 1977. Section 85 255 of the early decision by court appeal of the court of the appeals decide with the question of the appeal with the early with the date is possible. The acts of 1977 amended in 1981. Acts 256 appeal proceed with the provision with the requirements of Acts of the 4662 with the revised civil statute with the Texas of the 1925 as amended Rule 385 of the Texas Rule Civil Procedures as amended relating to temporary injunctions apply with appeals any order granting or refusing temporary restraining order granting overruling motion with the dissolve of the temporary restraining order of the provision subchapter Acts 1977. 85 257 certified question of the written of the error of the question of the certified written error request the grant of the Supreme Court with the Supreme Court shall cause the hearing immediately shall decide the cause of early date with the possible of the cause shall have the precedence over all of the causes proceeding cover the different character of the court Acts 1977. Section 85 258 with the authority of the Court of Appeals to issue with the writ of the Court of Appeals judge of the jurisdiction issue of the writ of the prohibition mandamus of the injunction with the prevent enforced by any other judgment of the trial court or judge of the grants of any type of injunction of relief without notice for the hearing of the violation requirements section 85 244 and 245 of this code Acts 1977 amended in 1981. Section 85, 259, issue of the writs of the courts of appeals, if they appear for the provisions, section 244 and 245 of this code have been complied with the proper application from the commission, and the court of appeals have the jurisdiction court shall issue for the institutor with the necessary writs of the prohibition, mandamus for the or injunction of the prohibited with the restraint with the trial judge for the enforcement of the attempting to enforce the provision of the injunction issued by him or the prohibited restraining part of the parties of the whose ever the order of the enter of the acting with the attempting to law act under the protection under order or from the violation of law rule order of the commission attack of the 1970 amendment of 1981 subchapter H receivership request of a receiver rule order of the commission have finally injunction educated with the revalued in the whole of the part of the suit with the commission and the party after the time of the party the suit with the other proceedings in which the rule or is declared valid violates the rule order judgment or shall their use of the permit use of the permit properly owned with the control of the violation rule order judgment of the commission shall make application to judge for the trial court with the setting of the rule order judgment stating the party with the subsequent date of the judgment violating the rule order judgment with the requesting of the receiver the appointed with the provided in subchapter Acts 1977. Alright, section 85-292 for the appointment of the receiver of the bond after the application submitted for the provided in section 85-291 of this code of the judge of the trial court with the afternoon of the hearing with his appointment the receiver of the property involved with the use of the violation of the rule under judgment shall sever the proper bond from the receiver 1977 section 85-293 duties for the receiver the assume of the receiver is qualified shall take for the possession of the property shall perform the duty of the receiver of the property under the orders of the court strictly observing the rule of the order judgment 85-294 dissolution of the receivership the party whose property is placed on the receivership may move the dissolve of the receivership of the discharge of the receiver the terms of the court may be prescribed Acts 1977 subchapter I damage of the 85-321 suit for the damage of the party who owns for the interest property production that may be the damage of the another party violation of the provision chapter for the formerly of the chapter 26 for the acts for the 42nd and 11th first calls up for the 1931 and amended another law of the state with the prohibiting ways of the valid rule order of the commission may sue for or recover the damage of the have the only relief to which for the entitled with the law of their inequity, provided however any other action brought under the subsection otherwise alleging the waste of the have been caused by the act or remission from the law, at least owner of the operator shall be defense of the at least owner of the operator would acting on the reasonable prudent operator would act under the same or similar fact for the circumstances 1977 amended with 1987. Section 85(3)(22), the proceeding of the impair of the truth of the damage done provision in chapter the formerly part of the chapter 26 of the Acts of the 42nd legislature of the calls as the first calls after 1931 is amended the no suit against the commission, the no penalty with imposed the claimed against any of the party violating the law, rule, order of the commission, impair of the bridge of the delay of the cause of action for damage of the other relief of the owner of land or a producer oil, gas, any other party with the interest may have with an assert with against the party violating any rule and or order of commission, any judgment under the subchapter 1977. Subchapter J, injunctions, 85(3)(51)(2) for injunction, if it appears that the person is violating with threatening or violate with a provision of the chapter formerly part of the chapter 76 general law of the Acts of 44th legislative regular section 1930, regular session 1935 as amended with the title 102 of the revised civil statute of the taxes of the 1925 as amended, including the provision called formerly included with the title with any rule order of the commission adopted under the rules, and the commission through the attorney general shall bring out the suit with a normally state with a violation with a right and violation. B, the suit shall be brought again for the person violating with a threatening or violating with the law and rule order of the court with a competent jurisdiction from the Travis County with the county with which the violation occurred with the count over the residence with any of the defendant acts 1977 amended 1983, 85(3)(52) with the type of the court orders and suit with the commission with the name of the state with the obtained with the prohibitory mandatory injunction including temporary restraining orders with the temporary injunction with the facts may be warrant acts 1977 section 85 2353 appointment of receiver of a violation with the person any of the injunction grant with a provision with the subchapter position over the grounds of the appointment with the court with the receiver to take charge of the personal property to excessive authority that the judgment of the court is necessary to bring with the compliance with the injunction with the court may appoint with the receiver either two of its own motion or one a motion with the commission name of the state. B, no receiver appointed until the after the notice is given in the hearing is held with the receiver the authority to appoint a receiver in addition with the cumulative authority to punish the contempt acts 1977 subchapter K, penalties, imprisonment and confinement, penalty, violation of the laws, rules, or with addition of the being subject to the forfeiture provided by the law, any penalty imposed with the commission, contempt for the violation of the rules, or with any purpose to violate the provisions, section 85, 45, and 46 of the Code, Title 102 of the revised civil statute of the 1922 5 of this amendment, including the provision of the core Code formally included in the cell with any of the rule order of the commission promulgated under this law subject to the penalty no more than $10,000 provision rule and order pertaining to the safety of the prevention of the control of the pollution. $1,000 provision rule order does not pertain to the safety of the prevention of the control over the pollution. And the applicable maximum penalty may be assessed for each of the every day of the violation for each of the every act of the violation. Acts 1977 amended to Acts 1983. Section 85(3)(82), venue for the penalty provided in Section 85(3)(81) with this code recovered for the court with the competent jurisdiction in Travis County in the county with the violation occurred with the county with the residence of the defendant in the Acts 1977 and amended in 1983. Or Section 85(3)(83), the suit with the direction of the dimension of the suit with the recovery of the penalty institute with the conduct with the name of the state with the attorney general with the county or district attorney in the county in which the suit was brought with the Act of 1977. Section 85(3)(84), for the fact of the recovery of the payment or penalty with the recovered payment of the penalty shall not authorize violation provision of the 85045 and 46 of the Code of the Title 102 of the revised civil statute of the Texas 1925 as amended, including provision of the code formally included within this title, any of the rule order of the commission adopted under the laws of the Acts 1977, 85(3)(85) of the person aiding of the abating violation, and of the person who aids of the abating and another person violation. Section 85(04)(5) and 4046 of this code of the Title 102 of the revised civil statute of the 1925 this amendment, including provision code formally included with the title, any rule order adopted by the commission under the laws will is subject to the same penalty provided in Section 85(3)(81) of this code, Acts 1977. 85(3)(38)(55) of the administrative penalty of the commission may impose an administrative penalty on a person who violates Section 91, 705, 70, or 76. Or rule or adopted under Section 91, 705, or 901, 76. Normally destroy the break, remove the otherwise tamper the temp for the destroy with the break, the remove the otherwise tamper with a cap seal with other device plate for the commission over the oil gas well with the other associated oil gas or the gathering equipment amount with the penalty may not exceed $10,000 for each of the violation amount shall be based on. series of the violation, including the nature, circumstance, extent of the gravity of the violation, economic harm of the property, environmental cause of the violation, history, previous violation, efforts to correct the violation, any other manner of the justice require. The enforcement of the penalty may be stayed during the time and order of the judicial review of the person paid with the penalty with the clerk of the court filed with the supersedes a bond with the court with the amount of the penalty of the person who cannot afford to pay the penalty of the file of the bond may stay in enforcement by filing an affidavit of the manner required with the Texas Rules Civil Procedure for a party who cannot afford the file security for the cost of the subject of the right of the commission. The content of the affidavit is provided in those rules. The Attorney General may sue to collect the penalty. Proceeding to impose the penalty is considered the contested case under the Chapter 2001 Government Code. Penalty imposed in the section, in addition to the forfeiture provided with the law, and penalty imposed with the commission for the contempt of the violation composed with the rules and order added acts in 1999, acts amended in 2007. Alright, section 85 through 86, forging names of the permits for the tender's person shall be imposed in prison for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice no less than 2 or more out of 5 years if the forged name of the agent of the officer of the employing with the commission, the permit of the tender of the commission, relating to the oil and gas production byproduct and oil and gas forged with the name of any of the person tendered with the permit with the knowing of the forged instrument to induce another handle, transport oil, gas, any product with the byproduct of oil and gas amended in 2007. Section 85 through 87 of the procedure tending and permits a person shall be imprisoned with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for no less than 2 years, no more than 5 years if normally procured with the cause of the agent, officer of the employee with the commission, approved with the issue of the permit over the tender, the commission relating to oil and gas product of the byproduct of the oil and gas included with the statement of representation. This includes for all of the material misrepresentation, true facts for inspecting with the oil and gas product of the byproduct or either to process for the cause of the agent, officer of the employee with the commission, issue the permit and pretending relating to oil or gas, any product of the byproduct, either with the intent of the Defraud Acts 1977 amended in 2009. Section 85 through 88, possessing a forged permit and a tender, a person only who has his possession forged tender of the permit on the commission relating to the oil and gas or any of the product of the byproduct of the oil and gas for the purpose of transporting, handling, or selling the oil and gas shall be guilty of misdemeanor on a conviction, fine not less than 25, no more than 1,000, or shall be confined with the county jail for no less than 30 days, no more than 1 year, or both. Acts 1977, Section 85 through 89, criminal penalty. A person who is not the owner or operator of the oil well, with the gas well, with the oil gas well, with the purchaser of the contract, or a purchaser under contract with the oil and gas or oil gas for the well, with the gatherer under with a written authorization from the owner, operated with the purchase of the authorized representative of the commission, with the knowingly destroy the brakes, the remove of the otherwise tampers with an attempt to destroy the brake, or the remove of the otherwise tamper with any capsule or other device placed in the oil gas well, with the associated oil gas equipment by the owner, operated for the purpose of controlling the limiting of the operation as well with the associated equipment. The commits an offense. An offense under this section is a felony of the third degree, acts and added in acts of 1983. And that was Natural Resource Code, Title 3, Oil and Gas, Subchapter B, Conservation Regulation, Oil and Gas, Chapter 85, Conservation Oil and Gas, Texas Code.